Whether you're a freelancer, whether you're a consultant, or whether you're an employee, determining your value is one of the most important things you can do when engaging with customers, clients, and even engaging in your work itself. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to determine your value. So there's two key ways. The first one is to think about the hourly rate based on the expenses that you have. And the second method is an hourly rate based on market rates. Okay, so let's talk about those two quickly. The first one is thinking about what your cost actually is, right? So think about your step one is obviously to think about what kind of profit you want to make and then what your costs are. And you've got to get to a break-even number, okay? And once you get to a break-even number, in other words, your income equals your expenses, you add your profit on top of that, all right? So let's say your expenses are $100 and your income are $100. And that means that you would be breaking even, okay? And then you want to make a profit. So you want to charge $120 to make a $20 profit. Well, that means that a minimum that you would want to charge for your services in that case is $120. Okay, so that's the basic outline of what I'm trying to say to you, is that there's no point in charging a price that's under your expenses. In other words, your expenses are higher than your income, right? Okay, so that's the basic assumption of this particular method. So let's take a look at the steps. Number one, add up your costs. Number two, add your profit and calculate an annual salary. Step 3, calculate an annual overhead. Step 4, choose a profit margin. Step 5, determine your billable hours and make sure there's a 25 to 35% administration fee built in there, all right? And work on 13,000 to 15,000 hours per year with a 2-week vacation, right? So think about this for the year and then work backwards. And that really will help you make sure that you reach your profit goals. And then you also make sure that you have your administrative hours in there and that you have 2 weeks vacation. How great is that? So let's look at Sam, a web designer, all right? He has earned $100,000 per year as an employee and feels that he should receive at least the same salary as an independent consultant, right? He estimates that his annual overhead will be about $20,000 per year. He wants to earn a 10% profit and estimates that he'll work about 1,500 billable hours each year. Okay, so let's look at how he does this. He adds his salary and overhead together. So he adds his overhead, 100,000 plus 20,000 gives him 120,000. He then multiplies this total by his 10% profit and adds this to the amount. So, right, so 10% of 120,000 is obviously 12,000. He adds that in, so he gets 132,000. So that's a minimum, okay? Finally, he divides the total by his annual billable hours to arrive at his hourly rate. So 132,000 divided by 1,500 gives him $88 an hour, right? Remember, so he's thinking about his minimum being $88 an hour. He rounds this up to $90. Okay. Now he has to think about how this relates to market conditions. So if in the market they're actually charging $150 an hour, then he can round it up. However, if they're marking it down, then he has to adjust his hours. He may need to work more hours, or he may need to find a completely different market altogether. All right, so that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is starting from where other people are at. So in other words, contacting organizations that you can get a sense. I know Glassdoor is a great resource, glassdoor.com, where you can actually look at people's salaries for even that particular company that you work for. And once you get an idea of what people charge, you can then be market competitive, right? You can charge slightly under the price, you can add extra value, and you can also get a really good sense of what clients and customers are looking for and what they perceive as value, right? Value is a very subjective measure, okay? So Glassdoor, Salary.com, and Payscale.com are some great resources you can use, and they're right at the bottom of your screen. Now, one of the key ways that I think about the work that I do, so that's for the external, but one of the things that I think about internally is once I have determined my hourly rate, I then look at my administrative, marketing, and production tasks and then decide whether someone else can do those same tasks for less. All right. So one thing, if my rate is $88 an hour, some of the tasks on my list, such as data entry, for example, or just doing some basic admin things, someone would likely do those same tasks for $25 or $15 an hour, right? And so what I then do is go onto these sites, Upwork, Fiverr, MyTasker, and TaskRabbit, and find someone who will do those tasks for me. And what that helps me do is it actually helps me free up my time to focus on my customers, right? So to give you a good sense, Upwork and Fiverr, you can find freelancers all over the world, just like you, who are able to do web design, all kinds of tasks, right? MyTasker is actually a dedicated virtual assistant service, right? So what you do is you pay for 20 hours a month, 10 hours a month, and you get yourself a dedicated virtual assistant who will do 10 hours worth of work for you. So if you have something reoccurring, that might be an option for you. And if the rate that they're charging you is less than what you would pay yourself, you're actually saving money and you're saving time. So I hope this video was really helpful. Please don't forget to give me a review and subscribe to my channel.